Have you ever walked out to your garden in the morning, coffee in hand, only to find one of your favorite plants looking completely stuck? It is not dead, but it is certainly not thriving either. This is a quiet frustration that almost every gardener faces at some point. You look at a chili plant, for instance, and you notice its growth has slowed down to a grinding halt. The older, lower leaves are starting to take on a pale, sickly yellow hue, while the new young leaves emerging at the top are tiny, fragile, and look like they are struggling just to exist. When a plant behaves this way, it is sending you a silent SOS. Most gardeners don't know this, but yellowing older leaves, combined with stunted new growth, is a classic sign of nutrient mobility issues. The plant is literally starving, so it is forced to rob nutrients from its older leaves just to keep the new ones alive. But even then, it does not have enough fuel to make those new leaves grow to their full size. If you ignore these early warning signs, the plant will eventually go into survival mode, dropping its blossoms, refusing to set fruit, and becoming highly susceptible to pests and diseases. Many people immediately run to the store to buy heavy synthetic chemical fertilizers. They dump a concentrated dose of blue crystals onto the soil, hoping for a quick fix. But here is where the real secret begins. Throwing harsh chemicals at a stressed, weakened root system can actually do more harm than good. It can burn the tender root hairs, lock up the soil nutrients, and kill off the beneficial microbes that keep your soil alive. Experienced gardeners know that when a plant is struggling, what it needs is not a chemical shock, but a gentle organic wake-up call. Today, we are going to look at a highly effective, incredibly gentle organic recipe that uses just 3 simple ingredients you might already have in your kitchen or backyard. This is a recipe passed down through generations of natural growers, designed to gently stimulate the soil, protect the root system, and give your plant the organic building blocks it needs to start growing steadily again. Our first key ingredient is fresh aloe vera. Most of us know aloe vera as a soothing balm for sunburns, but in the gardening world, it is treated as a premium plant tonic. For this recipe, we need a fresh piece of aloe vera leaf, about 10 to 15 centimeters long, which is roughly 4 to 6 inches. If you grow aloe at home, simply cut a mature leaf from the base of the plant. But why aloe vera? What makes it so magical for a struggling plant? Aloe vera is packed with naturally occurring phytohormones, specifically auxins and gibberellins. These are the exact growth hormones that plants use to signal cell division and root elongation. When a plant is stressed and its growth has stalled, a gentle dose of these hormones can act like a spark plug, restarting the plant's internal engine. Additionally, aloe contains salicylic acid, a natural compound that triggers the plant's systemic acquired resistance. In simple terms, it boosts the plant's immune system, helping it fight off pathogens and environmental stress. Before we use the aloe, we must prepare it correctly. First, wash the outside of the leaf thoroughly under clean water to remove any dirt or dust. Next, take a sharp knife and carefully slice off the pointed tip and the sharp, spiny edges along both sides of the leaf. Now, we want to separate the clear inner gel from the thick green outer skin. Slide your knife just under the skin to peel it away, leaving you with a clean, gelatinous slab of pure aloe gel. The goal here is to keep only the inner gel and remove as much of the green outer skin as possible, as the skin contains aloin, which we do not need in high concentrations for this specific recipe. It is crucial to understand that aloe vera is not a complete fertilizer. It cannot replace a balanced diet of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. In this formula, we are using the gel strictly as a supportive organic ingredient, a biostimulant that prepares the roots to absorb nutrients more efficiently. Once you have your clear gel, place it into a blender and add about 200 milliliters of clean, room temperature water. The purpose of this step is quite simple. We want to break down the thick, viscous gel so that it can disperse evenly in water. You do not need to blend it until it is completely frothy or smooth. A quick pulse for 10 to 15 seconds is more than enough to break up the solid chunks. Once blended, pour this liquid aloe mixture into a clean cup and set it aside. Your first ingredient is ready, and the stage is set for the real nutrient powerhouse. Now that our aloe vera base is prepared, we move on to our second ingredient, which is the true nutritional backbone of this organic recipe: soybeans. To the untrained eye, a soybean is just a simple legume, but to an experienced organic gardener, soybeans are a gold mine of highly bioavailable proteins, amino acids, and essential minerals. When plants are struggling to produce healthy new leaves, they are desperately craving nitrogen. Nitrogen is the primary driver of vegetative growth and chlorophyll production. Without it, leaves turn yellow and growth stops. Soybeans are naturally packed with organic nitrogen, but we cannot just throw raw beans into the soil and expect results. Here is the step many people skip. To unlock the power of soybeans, we must first roast them and grind them into a fine powder. For this recipe, you will need about 2 tablespoons of roasted soybeans. If you have raw soybeans, simply toss them in a dry pan over medium heat for a few minutes until they turn a beautiful golden brown and release a rich, nutty aroma. Once they are roasted and cooled, grind them in a clean coffee grinder or blender until they form a fine, flour-like powder. Grinding the soybeans is a critical step because it dramatically increases the surface area of the ingredient. When the powder comes into contact with water, the soluble compounds can dissolve much faster and more thoroughly than if we were using whole beans. Once your soybean powder is ready, place those 2 tablespoons into a clean jar and add 500 milliliters of clean water. Give the mixture a good, vigorous stir to ensure all the powder is fully wet and suspended in the liquid. Now, we must practice a little bit of patience. Let this mixture soak for 12 to 24 hours at room temperature. What is happening inside that jar during this time is a beautiful, natural extraction process. As the soybean powder steeps, the water begins to pull out soluble amino acids, peptides, and trace minerals. These are the basic building blocks of plant life. Instead of making the plant work hard to break down complex organic matter, we are providing it with pre-digested, easily absorbable nutrition. It is very important to clarify that this is a simple water extraction, not a fermentation process. Fermentation takes weeks and involves beneficial microbes actively breaking down sugars into acids. Here, we are only soaking the mixture for up to 24 hours to create a mild, fresh organic extract. If you leave it to soak for too long, say 3 or 4 days, it will begin to rot and develop a foul odor, which can attract unwanted pests and harmful bacteria to your plant's root zone. Keep it strictly between 12 and 24 hours. What happened next surprised me when I first started experimenting with this method years ago. After the soaking period, you will notice the water has turned a milky, creamy color, and a thick layer of solid residue has settled at the bottom of the jar. We do not want those heavy solids in our final mixture because they can clog the soil pores, restrict airflow to the roots, and create a moldy layer on the surface of your pot. To prevent this, we must strain the mixture thoroughly. Grab a fine mesh strainer, or better yet, a piece of clean cheesecloth or an old cotton t-shirt. Slowly pour the liquid through the strainer into a clean container, squeezing out as much liquid as possible while leaving the solid soybean residue behind. You can throw those leftover solids onto your compost pile so nothing goes to waste. The resulting liquid is a beautifully mild, nutrient-rich organic extract. It is not a concentrated chemical fertilizer that will shock your plant's system. Rather, it is a gentle, nourishing tea packed with the exact amino acids your yellowing chili plant is crying out for. With our aloe vera gel blended and our soybean extract strained, we are ready to bring in our third and final ingredient, molasses. Most gardeners don't know this, but the health of your plant is directly tied to the health of the microscopic life living in the soil. Healthy soil is not just dirt. It is a bustling city filled with billions of beneficial bacteria, mycorrhizal fungi, and other microorganisms. These tiny helpers work around the clock, breaking down organic matter and converting it into a form that your plant's roots can easily absorb. When a plant's growth stalls, it is often a sign that the soil biology has gone dormant. The microbes are hungry, and when they stop working, the plant stops growing. This is where molasses comes in. Molasses, especially unsulfured blackstrap molasses, is packed with natural sugars, carbon, and trace minerals like iron, calcium, and magnesium. To the microbes in your soil, molasses is a high-energy fuel source. By adding a tiny amount of molasses to our mixture, we are not feeding the plant directly. Instead, we are throwing a massive feast for the beneficial soil microbes. As these microbes consume the sugars, their population explodes, and they immediately go to work aerating the soil, unlocking bound-up nutrients and delivering them directly to the plant's roots. But a word of caution from experienced growers: when it comes to molasses, less is always more. If you use too much sugar, you can create an imbalance in the soil, attracting ants, fungus gnats, and encouraging the growth of harmful molds. That is why we use just 1 teaspoon of molasses for this entire recipe. Now, let us assemble our organic plant tonic. In a large container, combine your blended aloe vera mixture and your strained soybean extract. Next, add that 1 teaspoon of molasses. To make sure the molasses dissolves completely and does not just sink to the bottom, you can dissolve it in a tiny splash of warm water before pouring it in. Once all 3 ingredients are in the container, we need to dilute the mixture. Add clean, room-temperature water until the total volume of the liquid reaches approximately 2 liters. Give it one final, gentle stir to ensure all the ingredients are distributed evenly throughout the water. What you have now is a beautiful, light amber, highly dilute organic mixture. It is incredibly gentle, completely natural, and packed with root-stimulating hormones, easily absorbable amino acids, and microbial fuel. But before you run out and dump this liquid gold onto your struggling plant, we must talk about the application. This is the step many people skip, and it can make or break your results. Before you add any liquid to your plant, you must check the moisture level of the soil. Simply stick your finger about 1 inch or 2 into the soil around the plant. If the soil feels muddy, soggy, or excessively wet, stop right there. Do not add a single drop of this mixture. One of the biggest mistakes home gardeners make is trying to solve every plant problem by watering more. If your plant's roots are already drowning in waterlogged soil, adding more liquid, even a nutrient-rich organic tonic, will only suffocate the roots further, leading to root rot and eventual plant death. Roots need oxygen just as much as they need water. If the soil is dry to the touch on the top layer and feels only slightly damp underneath, then your plant is ready. Take a small hand tool, like a hand fork, or even a wooden chopstick, and gently loosen the top inch of soil around the root zone. Be very careful not to dig too deep or damage the main roots. Gently loosening the soil breaks up any hard crust that has formed on the surface, allowing our organic tonic to penetrate deep down to where the roots can actually reach it, rather than just running off the sides of the pot. Now that our soil is prepped and aerated, it is time to apply our homemade organic tonic. For a struggling chili plant in a medium-sized pot, you do not want to drown it. We are going to use a very controlled amount, about 150 to 200 milliliters of the solution. This is roughly 3/4 of a standard cup. When you pour the liquid, do not pour it directly onto the main stem or over the leaves. Instead, water in a gentle circle directly around the root zone, about a few inches away from the base of the plant. This encourages the roots to grow outward and expand in search of moisture and nutrients, creating a stronger, wider root system. The goal here is not to saturate the entire pot until it is dripping out of the bottom, but simply to deliver a concentrated, gentle dose of nutrition right to the active root zone. Once you have applied the mixture, place the plant back in its usual spot with bright, indirect sunlight and let it continue growing as usual. Do not expect to see a transformation overnight. Nature works slowly, and real, sustainable growth takes time. The results became visible just days later, but the real magic unfolded over a 2-week period. During the first 3 to 4 days, you might not notice much change on the surface, but beneath the soil, a quiet revolution is happening. The molasses has awakened the dormant soil microbes, which are now multiplying rapidly and breaking down the amino acids from the soybean extract. The aloe vera's growth hormones are gently waking up the stalled root tips, encouraging them to push through the loosened soil. By day 7, if you look closely, you will start to see the first signs of recovery. The pale, sickly yellow color of the older leaves will stop spreading. The tiny, stunted new leaves at the top of the plant will begin to expand, turning a deeper, healthier shade of green. This is a sign that the plant's vascular system is working again, successfully drawing up the organic nutrients we provided. What happened next surprised me. By day 14, the plant looked entirely different. The new growth was no longer small and fragile. Instead, strong, vibrant new shoots were pushing out from the leaf nodes. The overall structure of the plant looked sturdier, and the leaves had a healthy, natural gloss to them. Now, let us be completely honest here. I wouldn't call this a miracle solution. There is no such thing as a single magic potion that can replace the fundamental laws of gardening. A simple organic mixture cannot make up for a complete lack of sunlight, poor soil structure, improper watering habits, or a total lack of long-term nutrition. But what this simple 3-ingredient recipe can do is act as a powerful, gentle catalyst. It bridges the gap when your plant is in a rut, giving it the exact biological and nutritional push it needs to overcome stress and start growing steadily again. If you decide to try this formula at home, always remember the golden rules of natural plant care. Start with a highly dilute solution. Never overwater a plant that is already sitting in soggy soil. And above all, take the time to observe how your plant responds. Every plant is a living, breathing individual, and it will tell you exactly what it needs if you learn to read its signals. Gardening is a journey of continuous learning, experimenting, and working hand in hand with nature. If you loved discovering this simple, natural way to revive your plants and want to unlock more time-tested gardening secrets, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share your thoughts or your own plant-reviving stories in the comments below. I would love to hear how your plants respond to this recipe. Thank you so much for watching. Keep your hands dirty, and I will see you in the next garden experiment.